There's not much going on right now in the lives of our tiny clan as they travel across country. Sure, Fionna is frustrated, but it's a good thing to learn to appreciate the quiet times, the times of reflection. Or at least I think that's what Roevash would tell her. Embrace your downtime while you got the chance. That's coming from a guy who spent most of his childhood and half his adult life being hacked up in battle. Fionna is an independent spirit, and she's lived a sheltered life in the capital city of Tristan. Let's hope the fee is not too high as she learns the hard way from the school of life. My name is Karleigh and I'm here to read to you Chapter 20, Shadow Man. Ijlam, Fionna, and Roevash followed the Vodla River south and were well past Renoble when Ro put them on alert. "Someone is following us," he quietly warned, as they continued their leisurely pace. As the day wore on and darkness began to close in, they searched for a place to set up camp. Fionna spied a building that looked promising. It turned out to be an old abandoned farmhouse, its walls open to the sky above, affording some shelter. EJ and Fionna cleaned up around the broken-down hearth before starting a fire in it. Roevash remained on alert because the shadow that persistently dogged them continued to move closer at a steady pace in the falling darkness. He finally became agitated enough that he and EJ decided to circle around to catch the intruder, while Fionna continued to set up their camp. "Hold!" Ro shouted as EJ pressed his blade into the throat of the human. Ro recognized the ranger pin. He reached forward and pulled it off the man's cloak to inspect it closer in his hand. Under his hood, the man was grizzled and old, but he had somehow managed to keep up with them. "Why do you not make yourself honorably known? And where did you get this rare emblem?" Ro demanded in a commanding voice. "Do you not know me, Master Roevash?" The man croaked, his eyes wide at the sight of EJ's sharp dagger. Roevash looked closer at the man. Dakeen Darkasiety, my uncle's young squire." Not so young anymore," Dakeen grumbled as EJ carefully released him. Ro reached out and took the man in a clasping embrace that was the custom of the old rangers. "I am sorry I did not recognize you sooner. It has been so long," Ro said as he returned Dakeen's cloak pin. "Why are you out here?" Roevash asked curiously. "I saw you leaving the village, and I sought to catch you, but elves, even moving at a leisurely pace, are far too fast for common humans. Good thing I'm Darjlan, or you would have been out of my tracking long ago." Dakeen smiled broadly as he rubbed his neck, glad to find it still in one piece. He smiled and nodded at Ijlam as Ro introduced his brother. The quality of the man shone through regardless of his scruffy appearance. Dakeen had been a young boy when Ro first knew him. It looked like the years since the Great War had not been kind. Dakeen had dark, sandy-colored hair that hung in a thick ponytail down his back. He bore a scar that sliced across his face. The old wound didn't detract from his rugged handsomeness, and like all who were born of the Darjilia bloodline, Dakeen's stature rivaled Roevash in height. The three headed back to camp, glad to have found their shadow man was an old friend. EJ's gut ached for food. He could smell something good cooking on the fire the closer they came to their encampment. Dakin gobbled down the dish of food Fionna handed him like he hadn't had a decent meal in a long time. She glanced at Roevash and nodded, concerned about the man's unkempt condition. Ro nodded in agreement with her unspoken thoughts. "You are blessed ones, I thank you," Dakin said between bites. "I'm sorry, milady, for my bad manners." He slowed down his eating as if he could read Fiona's mind. "No one has cooked so well for me in many years," he gratefully admitted. Fionna offered him another biscuit and some more ale. Dakin did not refuse it. "I thought I was the last of our order, Master Roevash. Though I have faded in time, you still hold your bearing as a younger man. It must be the blessing of your fine mother." Roevash smiled and thanked him for the kind comment. When supper was over, the party of elves sat rapt with every detail, as Dakin told them of the exodus of the elves from Etten Falls, Caras Elderhan, Autumnwood, and their own home of Eldelórne. The sacred holds of the elves were left abandoned. Dakin shook his head sadly. "Alone, on occasion, I have found shelter there in my travels. I've also killed a few wild ogres now and then that thought to settle in. I have heard tales of wild elves who migrated to an island to the far south to escape the growing population of humankind. They may still inhabit the lands of your kin, though I have not seen any other Edelin in years." Dakin tried not to give them too much hope. "I still call home the old outpost that lay in the hills across the river. Ilian Henny is the only place I've ever known since I was a boy in the service of your uncle, Master Roevash. I did not wish to return to Darjeelia, since word of both my parents' deaths." He looked sad as he took another drink of the ale. "I do travel on occasion to the human holds to buy supplies and seek information about the changing countryside. That's when I spied you," he smiled at them all. "It is good for the heart to see familiar and friendly faces in the kingdom after such a long time." Roevash realized the poor man had been alone for as long as he had found himself commander of the training facility in Velabar. "You must stay with us, Dakin. I could use a good tracker right now at the fort. There's been a strange migration of plains animals into the mountains. Something big has pushed them out of their territory." "A dragon?" Dakin asked knowingly. "I had not thought of that," Ro said. "I have been distracted." "Is that what happened to your face?" Dakin pointed at Ro's scar next to his left eye. "Yes, one of the great lions tried to eat us all for breakfast." "Good thing you did not lose another eye then," the man teased him with a straight face. The two broke into wild laughter at the inside joke. "I missed you, old friend." Ro raised his tankard in salute. "To the good old days." "That as they were," Dakin clinked the drink in response, with a smirk on his face. They both drank deeply in remembrance of the rangers they once were. Fionna and EJ decided to leave the two old soldiers reminiscing by the fire. They quietly disappeared hand in hand to their bedroll to get some rest. "Tell me more about Elven family," Fionna asked. "What would you like to know?" EJ's breath tickled the back of her neck as they lay cuddled into each other. Fionna felt a familiar mild queasiness rise in her stomach. "How old do we have to be to marry?" EJ's voice rumbled deep with weariness. It tingled across her skin. "Elves marry when they are physically mature. That is at about 1,000 years. Oh, Fionna sounded disappointed. So I am too young, and so are you, she added, thinking on it. We would not be able to have little ones until that time, Fionna, but we are betrothed, and that means we are allowed to be together. Egelum turned her around in his arms to earnestly look at her. Only if you are sure you feel ready. He regarded her with great concern. I feel sick. Oh, no, I feel strange. Fionna was searching for the right words. I want to. Confused and frustrated, Fionna stopped talking. She blinked at him through sad green eyes for lack of the right thing to say. I know of what you speak. I also feel this strange loneliness in my gut, even when we are together, EJ assured her. Fionna leaned forward for a kiss, but accidentally bit down on his lower lip. Egelum cringed a little in the pain of it. Oh no, Fionna wanted to cry, unable to undo what she'd just done. I'm always so clumsy. I'm not a very good Edelin. Fionna grieved in exasperation and thought to look away. Stroking her hair, Egelum turned her face back to him. He regarded her with a serious expression. My beloved, you could never truly hurt me. He gazed ardently into her shining, tear-filled eyes. He leaned in and kissed her lips softly. Fiona's eyes explored his face. EJ brushed her cheek gently with his fingertips. An invisible, shimmering light flowed like a protective blanket out over and around both of them. With Fiona's face in his hands, EJ rubbed her nose with his. He smiled with her. Then let this first time be slow and sweet. His voice softly breathed the words over her lips. Fiona's skin blushed as unseen light danced and tingled everywhere Egelum ran his fingers. A calming hum of beautiful tones came into her mind as he pulled her to his heart and rocked her in his strong embrace. Soft eyes gazed at each other. They could have stayed sharing this bliss for days, had there been the time or the place. But rest was needed. EJ gently rolled onto his back, taking her with him. Fionna shuddered in his arms. He held her tight until their release together calmed. Fionna simply stared at him, her face resting peacefully on his chest. Egelum quietly stroked her hair. Warm and content, they fell sound asleep. The next sunrise, Dakin promised to head northward to Velavar with a message for the guard. Roevash gave him permission to get the men working on scouting out any possibility of a dragon problem. The two big men clasped hands as Roe reached out and grabbed Dakin on the shoulder and pulled him in for a great bear hug. Dakin smiled and was also glad to be back in Roe's company. He said his farewells and set out for the northern cliffs of Velavar. EJ and Fionna had already packed up the camp as Roevash returned from saying goodbye to his old friend. He couldn't help but notice the small bruise on his brother's lip and tried not to stare. He shook his head, grinning shyly, as his eyes searched the southern horizon. EJ blushed, knowing his brother had questions, so he explained in a conspiring voice. The wrath of an elven maiden took me by surprise. He shrugged. I'm standing right here, Fionna said, tilting her head, staring at them. She had her hands firmly planted on her hips as she glared menacingly. As I said before, I'm glad she is yours, brother. Roe cringed, assessing her body language. The big man rolled his eyes and jumped back just in time as the little elf girl took a swat at his arm. Ah, now witness the face that blushes the darkest, EJ innocently said, as they took off walking towards Autumnwood Forest. I would learn to hold her at the end of my arm's length, brother, lest you lose a whole limb next time. Roe winked at Fionna as he broke out into giant laughter. We shall all suffer bruising if you both do not shut it, Fionna interjected. Oh, the brothers said in perfect unison. EJ just had to tease. Never again will I lie sleeping in perfect chaste innocence with my beloved Fionna. He lamented in fun one too many times. He yipped as he jumped away from a finger jab. Agelam took off running, with Fionna yelling and swatting at him in close pursuit. Fionna might as well get used to never having any privacy about anything ever again. There's not even a word or idea of privacy in the Elven language. The trade-off is a strange, liberating feeling in the knowledge that the eyes of your kin are inevitably fixed upon you. EJ and Roe would be supportive and always genuinely kind and caring, even in all her stark nakedness. Fionna remembered how alone and orphaned she felt after she met EJ, and now she came to understand how important it was for elves to be outwardly playful and affectionate. Heartfelt comfort and healing are always shared unquestionably with beloved kin. Fionna could see the drastic change, the balanced calm and happiness that came over Roevash, as well as that of her own heart. They had both been alone for too many years in the desolate anguish of elven solitude. Fionna didn't even recognize that she craved such togetherness until now. She did not mind the silly teasing. It gave her a reason to pretend to be agitated and chase them around like little elflings. It seemed that this was a part of their lives that was cut short, and Fionna found it was a welcome game to play. Well, at least we covered good ground today, because you two cannot stop flirting with each other, Roevash marveled at their energy. You will have to restrain it if we should come into the presence of humans or other elves, he reminded his brother sensibly. We are having such joyous fun. Ejim flashed his smile while catching his breath from the last run. They stood watching as Fionna finished catching up to them. For someone so short, she can certainly keep up. Roevash was impressed. She is female, brother. They're always known for their superior endurance. EJ reminded him with a wink. I may have to call upon you to help me wear her down, EJ teased. His brother took the bait quickly, cutting him off before he could finish that sentence. Oh no, you bade her hand and you must keep it. Ro feigned fear at this and then added firmly, she would never command me so easily. At that they both heartily laughed as Fionna arrived out of breath. Carry me, Ro, Fionna begged with her big pouty lips, while blinking her big green eyes. EJ just pretended to be surprised as Ro boosted her up on his shoulder, where she could ride curled up on his huge pack. Ro growled under his breath and gave EJ a look that said, shut it. EJ just smiled back at Ro's ineffective resolve as they quickened their pace down the trail. Recently, I had a chance to go back and listen to some of the older episodes because, surprise, I'm putting them on YouTube. So now you can give me a big giant thumbs up and comment right on the story. Here's a chance for you to go back to the beginning and listen to it all over again and see what you might have missed. Yeah, now I'd like to do a shout out to all our friends who are listening in the United States, Australia, United Kingdom, Canada, Ireland, France, Netherlands, Norway, Singapore, Germany, and our newest listeners in Argentina. Welcome to the Tales of Eldelórne. I hope you love it enough to tell your friends and family and give us that thumbs up or 5-star review that we need to be discovered out there in the ether world of podcasting. Elvish lesson of the day. Hey, Sevena. I have an idea. No, I'm not asking for a soft drink, 7-Up. I said Sevena. I have an idea, Sevena. Really, you have an idea? Well, if it turns out that you really don't have an idea, you say Sevenuna. Sevenuna. And that would be okay too. Till next time, bye-bye. This is Karleigh signing out.